everyone. I wanted to do a very quick video on a new pattern that I've been working on. So I love shift dress patterns, but I had been looking for a gathered sleeve pattern and couldn't really find one that I liked, or they had elastic down at the cuff, which I just, not with wool crepe, I just don't like it. So I drafted my own, and this cuff comes together with a snap, and I actually sort of patterned this after a typical skirt waistband, and I now know that thanks to my mom that I actually should have done it this way instead. I should have had the flap underneath. It just looks a little bit cleaner, and when you're doing something like a cuff, this is just kind of one of those sewing rules. But this is a gorgeous wool crepe. I got this in Atlanta at Gail K Fabrics, and I'd been trying to decide what to make out of this wool crepe. I got 3 yards, so I put up a poll on Instagram, and it was this color or an orchid wool twill, and this one got the most votes, but truth be told, I had already prepped it and was ready to use it by the time all the poll results came in. So but anyway, I wanted to show you kind of how I did the pattern on this. Now that the dress is almost done, I need to hem it and finish the neckline facing, and then it's done. So I used the Laurel pattern as a base, and this is one of my favorite patterns of all time. And I'm gonna kind of angle this here so you can see all of it. Try to get all of it in the camera. There we go. Okay. So in order to create the fullness at the hem, the method, you could have either added space on either side of the sleeve pattern or slash and spread, which is what I ended up doing. So I made 4 sections on the pattern going off of my grain line here, and then I slashed this. I found a little tutorial on Pinterest on how much to slash it. So this is 1.5 inches. This is 3 inches down here. And then I added length at the bottom for my seam allowance. So the sleeve cap at the top stays the same. There's no change to your sleeve cap, and the only thing that changes is the width of the sleeve at the bottom. And then I drafted a sleeve band for the bottom. Now this ended up being too narrow, so I originally cut this as is, and when I tried to kind of show you what ended up happening. So when I tried to stitch this and then stitch over, there was no way that I could flip this right side out. So I ended up adding 2 inches to the width of this pattern piece. The length is the same. And then I cut it out, put interfacing, and then created the sleeve placket. Bring this back over here. Show you this one. Okay. So construction-wise, this was pretty simple. I finished the edges. I included the snap along the seam of the sleeve. I didn't add a slit to a different part of it just because I wasn't entirely sure how this was going to come together, and if I messed it up, I wanted it to be hidden under my arm. So that was part of my reasoning for that. But I went ahead and finished this and then just opened it up. So I left about 4 inches open, and then I gathered all of this extra fabric. I attached it to the sleeve facing, and then folded, did the typical like you would do on a waistband where you fold it and fold it under and stitch in the ditch and all that. And then I added my I added snaps here instead of buttonholes because there was just no way I was going to be able to get a buttonhole onto this fabric as narrow but also thick as it is, so I went with the snaps. But pretty easy construction. And again, I just doubled the width of all of this so that I had plenty of room to be able to stitch it and then turn it. So next time I make this, which I think I probably will, I'm going to finish this and make it for a holiday party for my fiance's work this Friday. But next time I make this, I'm probably going to do a few things differently. One, I'm definitely going to be more mindful of this flap here. My mom was absolutely right. It does look a lot better the right way. So I'll definitely do that. And then I may even play around with not having any kind of flap whatsoever and just having this flush with the edge. And then doing a button with an elastic loop that can go over the button. So a couple different things. I also, let me show you this pattern piece again. One of the tutorials I saw, let me angle this so you can see it better. Okay. One of the tutorials just recommended that you keep the width of your upper sleeve and then you balloon out toward the hem. So you can see that on this pattern, width is added all along the sides of the sleeve. And actually what they recommend, another way to do it if you don't want more fullness at the bicep, which I don't mind, is that you keep the lines as they are for the bicep and then you balloon out at the hem. So I may try that depending on how I feel about this dress in the future. Anyway, so I'm going to be posting more photos about this on Instagram once it's done. Feel free to follow me over there and I'll get some full-length photos once it's hemmed and completely finished. And if you have any questions, please leave them below. Thanks, guys.